Last year, I lost my husband of 25 years. It feels surreal to say it out loud, and even now, a year later, the weight of that loss hasn't quite lifted. I thought I would be spending the rest of my life with him, growing old together, sharing memories and the quiet moments that come with long-term love. But life had other plans. Our daughter, Emma, was 24 years old at the time, married for only 2 years. I remember when she met her husband, James. They had a beautiful love story, and we, as parents, were thrilled for her. They were a good match, the kind of couple you hope for your children. But as the years went by, after her wedding, things started to change. Gradually at first, so subtle that I didn't notice, and then, almost overnight, everything felt different. Before Emma married James, she and I had such a close bond. We had always been there for each other, laughing together, sharing secrets, and supporting one another through thick and thin. She was my little girl, sweet, loving, and thoughtful. I felt like she was everything I could have asked for in a daughter. But once she got married, things shifted, and I couldn't understand why. Shortly after their wedding, she stopped visiting us. At first, I chalked it up to the typical post-wedding adjustment period, all the excitement of setting up a new home, spending time with her new husband. But days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. I tried to reach out to her, calling, texting, even leaving voicemails, but I was met with silence. My heart sank with each unanswered message. And then, just as I was starting to feel a pang of concern, tragedy struck. Our son, Ben, passed away. It was sudden. He was only 22, just starting to figure out life, and then, just like that, he was gone. The pain of losing him is something I can't put into words. It felt like the ground had been ripped from beneath me. Ben was my world, just as much as Emma had been. To lose him was unfathomable. In the wake of Ben's death, I had hoped for some kind of support from Emma, but instead, her absence became more pronounced. She didn't even attend her brother's funeral. It cut me deeper than anything I could have imagined. The grief of losing a child is unbearable enough, but to feel so abandoned by my daughter at that moment, it shattered something inside me. Months passed, and my husband's death added to the already overwhelming grief I was struggling with. With his passing, everything seemed to spiral out of control. The practicalities of life after losing a spouse, the house, the assets, none of it seemed important at the time, but there were so many decisions to be made. And when I found out that my husband had never left a will, an oversight I couldn't believe, it only added to the chaos. My mind was overwhelmed with grief, and the thought of dealing with finances seemed impossible. But nothing prepared me for what came next. One day, about 6 months after my husband's passing, Emma and James showed up at our house unannounced. To make matters worse, they weren't alone. They had brought a lawyer with them, a man who appeared very official and intimidating. The moment they walked through the door, I knew something wasn't right. Emma, my daughter, whom I had raised with so much love, was distant, cold even. She barely looked at me. The lawyer handed me a stack of documents and a blank sheet of paper and asked me to sign them immediately. I was stunned. I knew the legal processes. I wasn't ignorant about what was happening. But when I asked Emma what the papers were for, she avoided my gaze. I turned to the lawyer for an explanation. He said they were for transferring all of my late husband's assets into Emma and James's names. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. It didn't make sense. Everything my husband and I had built over the years was suddenly being stripped away. I told the lawyer no, but Emma wasn't hearing it. She demanded that I sign the papers. She was insistent, almost frantic. I didn't know what to do. She tried to force my thumbprint on the blank sheet of paper. At that point, I was scared. Fear settled in. What had happened to my daughter? The sweet girl I had raised was now a stranger, someone who was treating me like a piece of property rather than her mother. I screamed for help, hoping someone would hear me. My neighbors must have heard the commotion, because within moments, they arrived at my door. One of them, a dear man named Carl, physically stepped between me and Emma, pushing them both out of my house. I was shaken, hurt beyond belief, and terrified. This wasn't just about money. It wasn't about the assets, the house, or anything material. It was about betrayal. The one person I thought I could count on had turned on me, and I had no idea why. After that confrontation, Emma didn't stop. She bombarded me with messages. Not angry or threatening messages, but sweet ones, almost like nothing had happened. She thanked me for making her the beneficiary of my husband's estate, for transferring all the assets to her. I was disgusted. I felt like I was losing my mind. I didn't know how to deal with it anymore. I needed to get away. It was time to make a change, and after speaking with a lawyer, I realized that since my husband had died without a will, I was the sole owner of everything. I was in control of our assets, and no one could take them from me. So I made a decision. I sold everything. The house, the cars, everything. It was hard at first, but I knew it was the right thing to do. The money I received was more than I could have ever imagined, and I used it to buy a new house in a place I had always dreamed of living. I packed up and moved far away, leaving behind the pain, the betrayal, and the memories of a life I no longer recognized. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. I was far from the drama, the tension, and the heartbreak. I could start over, enjoy the life I had left, and do the things I had always wanted to do. Travel, see the world, experience new adventures, things I had put off for too long. My life was mine again, and that sense of freedom was worth more than anything. But even after I left, the harassment didn't stop. I heard through the grapevine that Emma tried to start litigation against me shortly after I sold everything and moved away. But it didn't go anywhere. All the assets were in my name, and there was nothing she could do. Now, she's pressuring people to contact me, begging me to meet her. She wants to make amends, to talk, to fix things. But I don't understand why. Why would she fight me for something that was always going to be hers anyway? I don't know what has happened to her, and I'm not sure I want to. I've moved on, and I'm content with where I am. I've cut ties with Emma and James, and I don't plan on seeing them again. I don't even have social media anymore, except for Reddit, where I can at least connect with people who aren't part of my past. I don't know if I'll ever get answers, but I've learned to live without them. Some things aren't meant to be understood, and some relationships aren't meant to be repaired. I've learned the hard way that family doesn't always mean unconditional love. Sometimes it's just about survival. And for me, it's about finding peace in the life I have now, and not looking back. This story now reads like a reflective account, adding more depth to your experience, capturing the emotional journey you've gone through, and giving space for your feelings of betrayal and healing. I've tried to keep your voice intact while expanding on the details to match the length you requested. If you'd like me to add more specifics or adjust any part, feel free to let me know.